Because obviously we're going to do a little bit of a spicy convo now about the infamous NEACE incident, right? Which I just think is a great convo to have. It's actually not even just specifically about NEACE, even though certainly there are a lot of details on that are funny and interesting and have been misrepresented. But I would just say it's the best example of this topic because, like I say, I feel like so much of the discussion in it starts in the weeds that we were just in there of like, wait a minute, so like, should he even be allowed to coach? And are all coaches that aren't pro scams? And like, yeah, but if he is above you, like, yeah, but he has a like long history of coaching, and besides maybe he was like, and people are just lost in the weeds, mate. Whereas like essentially we'll break it all down very quickly in this way, which is you got drawn into this whole like drama, even though obviously it was to do with NEACE himself, people questioning him on Reddit and then a few famous streamers. But the way you got drawn in was you were one of the people who actually went and looked up some of the facts. Like essentially one of the things I know that irritated you and Ellis and others was that this guy, his basis for coaching wasn't what I just did. He didn't just go, look, I've played the game a long time, I've got a lot of experience coaching, I'm obviously coaching people who are often lower level than me, and I'm teaching them fundamental concepts of the game. If he said that, by the way, I don't care what price he puts on it. Caveat emptor, it's up to the fucking fan what they want to pay for it. If they're stupid enough to pay him $10,000 or $1, it's up to them. That's between him and them, and if they think it's worth the money, it's worth the money to them. But to me, the reason this got completely lost in the woods is, as far as I can tell, the main thing that irritated people like you was that he made actual, tangible, material claims that are just false, or rather he doesn't have evidence for, such as far as I know, you could correct me on this, he claimed to be multiple times a challenger. Now, I believe on one post he did admit it was like on the LAN server, but the way he did it on the other ones, as far as I know, was bereft of that context, hoping, since you know he's an American playing on an NA server, that you're all going to assume it's he just got to challenger on NA, where, Bjergsen is playing and all these players we're talking about, right? Give me the gist of, was this your entry point? Was that the thing that sort of set you off as to like, right, I'm going to see if this is some bullshit or I'm going to expose if it is?
I mean, so funnily enough, the first experience that I ever had with NEACE was him lying about my rank.
Oh, okay.
There was a time where I was 400 LP. No other tournament was even Masters because it was just a terrible time. And I was having a really interesting playstyle and a lot of people were making content about me. And he was getting a lot of questions, and he said that I was never Masters, even though I was actively 400 LP GM at the time, a couple games away from Challenger. So that was my first experience, is just, I know that he knew what I was because people were asking, hey, this specific thing that I was actually getting and achieving. So my first interaction with him is him provably lying about me. And this whole kind of thing recently, last year, started off with him not refunding somebody who who canceled coaching before 24 hours, just did a full no refund at all. And ultimately, the biggest thing that I saw is that, hey, he claims to be a multi-season, multi-role NA challenger, but I've never actually seen anything about that. Somebody a year or so before said that his backpack that he constantly shows of a challenger backpack, which is a reward that you used to get for ending a season in Challenger, was actually a LAN backpack. And then
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought like, okay, this backpack is LAN. So I just looked through his social media on Twitter, Discord, YouTube, et cetera, and I found that, yeah, he had never actually hit Challenger on an A.
By the way, just to confirm this, if people don't know, you can actually 100% verify all this stuff, right? It's possible to search the old seasons and where people were. Like, it's not that, like, essentially you had to capture the screenshot. If he had it, he had it. And if he didn't, he did. Like, as far as I know, even to this day, you can go back and actually see where people's ranks were on their accounts, right?
Yeah. So we can get into that because that'll apply.
All right. Okay, no problem.
Yeah. So I saw that he constantly talked about, hey, I'm going for Challenger, this, yada, yada, yada. There was even times where he said, I didn't hit Challenger this season. In Season 7, he said, I didn't hit Challenger on an A this season. I only hit it on LAN. I'll try again next year. So saw, hey, never actually hit Challenger. So I brought up all of this information, kind of compiled it into a thread, and his response was to post a screenshot of Challenger on a specific account that I had said that only hit Grandmasters. And the problem with lying, if you don't know, if you want to be a good liar, you never make specific claims, because he made a specific claim of this account hit Challenger at this time on this region. And there is a website, League of Records, which compiles the ladder information all the way back until Season 4 on ladder reset. So you can see day by day every single account that has ever been in Masters Plus. And so since he made that specific claim, then all of a sudden you can track, oh, hey, this is the LP that it hit every single day. And if you don't know, to hit Challenger, you need to be Challenger on ladder resets, because that's when Challenger actually refreshes and actually counts. So you can never be Challenger for less than a day. So it showed that he peaked like 60 LP away from Challenger. And even the story that he had before I brought this information up, which was he had a game on his YouTube where he was at 60 LP away. He won that. He said that he won that game and another game, and then he hit Challenger. But even if he won those two games, he wouldn't have hit Challenger. So also, there's just a lot of very obvious photoshopping elements. Like,
oh, geez, really?
Yeah, the text is italicized. It's the wrong text. And there's also
even that's so crazy to me, because it's like, bro, just get someone really good with Photoshop. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And
come on.
I mean, he has a graphic design degree from Full Sail University.
Well, the joke is, if it's that bad, does he? You know, that would be the obvious the follow-up, right? I know.
It's kind of a meme in America, Full Sail University.
All right, fair enough.
It's just a huge like scam.
Right.
Like a lot of people call it Full Scam University.
Okay.
So like there's also a concept with the CSS of the League client to where your name and icon will be exactly centered with the Challenger icon.
Okay.
And it was super far to one side.
Oh, man alive. I love this shit, though. I just love how amateurish it is, mate. Like,
yep. Yeah. And then so he just never thought that anybody could ever really kind of prove that wrong. And then so I did and showed that, hey, he never hit Challenger, despite constantly over the years claiming Season 6, Season 7, Season 9, NA Challenger, multiple roles. And it always like changed. That's the problem, is that the story always changed, where sometimes you would say, okay, I photoshopped the screenshot, or I didn't Photoshop the screenshot. And it would just always be what is most convenient at the time. And the problem is not that he only peaked 50 LP away from Grandmasters. High Grandmasters is a legitimate accomplishment.
Yeah, that would be a good rank to be. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Like that doesn't preclude you from coaching. The problem is that on his website, on his YouTube channel, everywhere, all social medias, anytime he would get any criticism, he would always deflect to, I am a multi-role, multi-season NA challenger. And that was his primary advertisement for him as a creator. And then so...
By the way, has he ever even had like a moment of lucidity where he sort of copped to like, oh, most of this wasn't true? Does he always just double down or just sort of ignore the critique generally?
So yeah, like sometimes he'll say, okay, I faked it. But then when other people will say it, like when he had a podcast with another league creator who kind of gave a little bit more specific questions, he said, okay, I photoshopped it. But then when he's talking to like people who get his coaching, he's like, oh no, I didn't Photoshop it.
That's
like
so crazy.
That was legit.
What's weird about that as well, dude, is that's also so bizarre to me, because that's almost like that behavior people always point out about politicians, where you can tell they don't really understand like the internet. So they think it's like a new day, so I can just say whatever I want, right? And it's like, well, someone can fact check that. Like that almost, the joke is he's on the internet. Like, I don't know how here's the weirdest thing about this. There's one area NEACE inarguably actually does know something we don't know, which is, I would assume if you did this track of behavior, no one would believe you. You'd be completely a pariah and an outcast. All your fans would leave. They'd all find out about this evidence. They'd see the evidence. They'd go, fuck this guy. He's a liar, and leave. But if anything, it seems like the opposite, dude. Like, it seems like actually this like strengthens his fans, that it's like an us versus the world thing. They almost get invested in the lie of like, no, but he did do it. And they're all just against him, LS and Dominate and, you know, Yasukeh. Like this, it's almost like he does know his own audience, bro. Like he somehow does know like what to say to them, because they seem to be on his side still. Like, I would have thought this would completely expose you, because as you say, his whole marketing's based on this foundational lie.
Yeah, and that's a problem, is that most people aren't caught up with the entire thing. So they like, if they interact with it, they'll only see the things that NEACE says. And when NEACE never actually brings up the primary criticism, he'll bring up things of like, oh, my coaching is too expensive. Like things that I have never said, or no legitimate person has ever said.
I can
like,
see though why that's smart though, because as I said, that is what all, like I said at the beginning, what all the idiots always go to. It's like $350. It's like, what? That's not even the fucking argument, you idiots. You know, like they always get lost on that part. True.
Yeah, like one thing that's important to understand is that before my information about fake Challenger came out, half the community was defending him. You were defending him.
Yeah, sure.
Because like, aside from actual fraud, like there's nothing inherently wrong about him running his business and charging what he wants.
Yep.
So half the community was on his side, and now no like real name is on his side unless they just don't know what's going on.
Right. By the way, my analogy, if people don't get it, would just be like this. It's just like if someone charged a lot for a massage. Is the massage good? Okay, then maybe if you want to pay $300 for it, you like that guy the most, go for it. I'd pay like $80 and have someone else do it. But the point is, it's not like there's only one game in town. I don't really need to pick it outside the guy doing the $350 massage. It's a rip-off. Shouldn't even be this. Like, who would waste their life doing that? Yeah, on that topic, I'm fine with it. But yeah, I can see why this irritates you, though, because he's sort of using that as a smoke screen when the real problem is not only very different, but you can nail him to the wall on it. It's not something vague. Like, it's not even you notice about how good is he at the game. As you say, it's possible you can even be good at the game and not be this rank, but he's made it. He's the one who did this, guys. Fans, he is the one who made it about his rank, not us.
Yeah. The framing that I had when he first said, I'm going to hit Challenger Korea, was that the framing that I had was he could totally hit rank 1 on Korea, be the best player League of Legends has ever seen, and it would not change the fact that he lied about ever hitting NA Challenger. His NA Challenger total, even if he gets rank 1 Korea, will still be 0.
Yes.
Still be 0. And that's just fundamentally the problem, is that I'm somebody who really cares about like honesty and integrity. That's the number one most important thing for me as a man. And just every single aspect of like NEACE, he just really has no relationship with the truth. Just one kind of quick example to kind of show this is earlier this week, he's in solo queue streaming, has his client off screen, and he is his team is full AD. He doesn't want to play it out. So he locks in Ghost Cleanse Nunu and dodges, says to his stream, hey, sorry, somebody on my team was trolling, I had to dodge. But he didn't know that the game went through. So it clearly shows that, hey, he's the one that's trolling.
Right.
And so he brings up this kind of like fake excuse of, oh, my role was top lane and this guy was trying to steal my top lane, even though he wants to play mid. And it showed that he was mid in Champions League. So he's just creating this fake reason. And the problem with that is it's fine to be the Ghost Cleanse Nunu who's trying to force a dodge. That's not the problem. I'm not particularly bothered by that. It's the problem that he's lying about the actual like circumstances of the situation. And that's really just kind of what irks me in this situation of doesn't matter that he didn't hit NA Challenger. It matters that he's lied about it and doubled down and doubled down and doubled down. And that he's actively trying to defraud people who don't know any better, because most of his traffic came from being first in Google search results.
Right.
You type in League of Legends coaching, you see, hey, okay, this is Challenger coaching from this guy, and he's got all these reviews from like Ninja or something.
Right.
And so, like, yeah, this looks legit. Like, Ninja likes it, I like it. So, like, that kind of defrauding is just my fundamental issue with it, is that it's just something I take seriously, and it's not something that he does.
Yeah, one thing I always found just bizarre about this whole equation as well is, if you notice, one of the tactics he's used, which is a very common tactic of liars, is you just keep shifting the goalposts or what the discussion point is. So, like, the reason why that works, if people don't know, is essentially then you have to have 50 arguments against the guy. Then you have to have a different take on it. Also, you can just keep moving it until it's something abstract, can't you? You move from a specific to an abstract. Like we're pointing out, he went from, did he ever make Challenger on NA, which was his claim, which he has yet to ever prove that he did, to I'm just really good at League of Legends, which is inferred by my rank on Korean solo queue, which is a totally different argument, even though I can understand to someone maybe very young or someone who doesn't understand logic, might seem like it's sort of the same argument, but it isn't. I mean, I'd just throw this out there. The reason why, to me, the whole Korean thing stank to high heaven from the moment he announced it is because, wait a minute, think about what I just said. So the real dispute and the problem NEACE has, and why he's getting called out by people much bigger than him, which is what he's annoyed about. He wouldn't be annoyed if it was all normal people his peer. He's annoyed that, you know what, if LS puts a video out there, actually a few 100,000 people might think you're a moron and never check your shit out. Like, he can't control those people. So I can see why that triggered him, right? But essentially, if he wanted to just make that look stupid, you wouldn't go, I'm going to Korea, guys. You'd go, I will now get Challenger on NA. Like, it's the most obvious fucking thing. And even, I'd say this, think it through, fans. If he's really good in Korea, then it'd be even easier to get fucking Challenger on NA, you idiots. Like, the point is, there's a reason he's intentionally not trying to ever do the one thing that he claimed to have done that he has never done yet. That in itself already is mega sus to me, because that makes me think something Yasukeh, like he hopes that like people won't scrutinize the Korean ladder as much, or they won't know the other players, or there'll be it already, to me, it already sounds like you're setting something up. You're trying to shift the scene, as it were, because you've got some other reason you think you can succeed in this other thing. In fact, the obvious one to me is because people revere Korean solo queue much more than NA. You're trying to use what we talked about earlier with the ranks as a kind of fuckery. You're trying to make it like, right, I can't get Challenger on NA. Now, obviously, I could never get it on Korea either, but I wouldn't need to, because it wouldn't actually need to be Challenger I'd need on Korea. If I got a certain rank, I could sort of claim, well, you know, isn't that like when pros go there during the boot camp and they get stuck in Diamond? Like, isn't that really sort of like, there's almost some of that going on. Do you get a similar vibe?
Yeah, no, that's also one thing, is that pros did get stuck in Diamond when Diamond was significantly higher than it is now. Like Balls, when he got stuck in D2.
Oh, that was season 5, if people don't remember. Yes, that was 2015, exactly. Yeah.
When people talk about pros getting stuck in Diamond, they're talking about Diamond 2, which is the equivalent of 500 LP on Masters Korea right now. So, like, nobody as a pro would get flamed for being 500 LP Masters.
No, of course not.
Because with all of this, like the patch that NEACE hit Masters on, the Korean Masters population tripled on that single patch. Because it was the, if you don't know, it's the patch where LP gains increased. So just everybody was getting into Masters. And then it was also with a fresh account. Like, when he hits, NEACE in Season 7 went to Korea for a month and hit Diamond 2 promos. That Diamond 2 promos, as a proportion of player base, is more impressive than hitting Masters on Korea now. So it's the problem of, one is that Riot's never actually talked about ranked inflation. So because they never talk about it and they just kind of sweep it under the rug, people still hold Season 8 Masters prestige to Season 13 Masters, even though they're completely different ranks. And it's also, like what you said, people have this kind of vague mythology about what Korean solo queue is like. So if you do whatever rank in Korea, you can always just say your experience on an A or any experience on an A or EU is just not comparable at all. Like I can say, oh, hey, Diamond 1 on Korea is better than Challenger on EU West or Challenger on an A. So I'm basically these ranks. And nobody can really actually say that unless they've actually played on Korea. So none of his fans have played on Korea. So it's really easy to, especially in high elo. So it's really easy to kind of make things as vague as possible. It's just a really good kind of storytelling technique to kind of make people sweep this under the rug.
Another thing, obviously, you alluded to it there, which to me is an enormous red flag, is it's not, guys, that he went to Korea, he made an account like NEACE will be Challenger Korea, he started playing on the account, you know, he took time to acclimatise to, you know, the sleeping hours and and not speaking English in solo queue and the different style of play, and then once he got sort of, you know, when he got going, he started climbing, and then boom, he was in Masters, and you know what, everyone, egg on your face, look how good NEACE is, right? You can fill me in on the details, but as far as I know, it wasn't the gist that he went there. The whole reason he was actually getting even more scrutiny is he was fucking shit and was perma-stock, and in a way that was really embarrassing, where he was like switching champions every few days, and he was obviously bitching like a motherfucker, and he was making mad claims. Like people might remember where he just tried to claim, I remember Nemesis had a clip this, he just tried to claim that like he took the fact that years ago, if you came like for an official Riot tournament, you'd get a Riot account that was a special account. He took that and he tried to imply when he was perma-stock, as far as I remember, that like any Western pro just got a special account that like magically boosts you through Korean. So he essentially tried to like invalidate the idea anyone could ever climb. And like that was like, and think why he's doing this, guys. He's doing this because clearly he doesn't think he's going to hit the Masters or wherever tier he thinks he's going to go to. And this is sort of like he's basically making a feather bed for his fall, isn't he? So it's not going to seem as bad. But then magically, as far as I know, he abandons that account because he's fucked it completely with the elotes, I'm assuming. And he makes a new account. Not only that, he doesn't do all his old mistakes. He doesn't keep switching between champions. He does your exact fucking game plan. He one-tricks Tryndamere in a way that's effective. And then also, as far as I know, wasn't it like he just had a crazy climb, like some short sample size where you just got all the gains and you get in there. And then the second you get there, you just brag. It's like, so technically no one could dispute it. He did get to that rank in Korean solo queue, but when you shade in some of the context, correct me if some of it's wrong, by the way, but as far as I know, the more the context you put in, the less impressive it looks, which is the opposite to, by the way, what he's trying to give off, which is I am actually this rank, I'm actually this good. Like, was the story generally correct there? There's some other details you can throw in?
Yeah, more or less. Like when he first announced it, like I predicted, and most people predicted that he would be around Diamond 1 to Masters level. Like that's what he would be at. So when he all of a sudden gets stuck in as low as Plat 3, like consistently demoting to Plat and being so low, that's what the bar kind of became, to where people just entirely forget that he should have been a Masters player from the start. And so it's just entirely shocking that he's so ridiculously far low that that's the floor that people put him at. So that now when he hits Masters, it's way more impressive than he would have just hit Masters right away, in terms of the sort of bragging power, because people think, oh, hey, NEACE is now a Plat player. So now all of a sudden when he hits Masters, it's a very, very impressive climb. And yeah, he did have an account that he had about 1,700 games on, smack dab in the middle of Plat, creates a new account, goes through the ranks, gets kind of stuck in Plat. Funnily enough, adopts my specific build that only I do, and immediately shoots up to Masters, which you're welcome, NEACE.
In itself, that part is so dirty too, isn't it? The idea he literally did like your style to then be like, see, I proved you all wrong. It's like, this guy, what's sad is, dude, I always say this in esports, right? In esports, there are no true villains. Like, there's no Bond villain level guy. If you know in CSGO, I always even say, I stress that Nickel and Ion guy, we talk about him like he's like that. That's just almost for our own romanticization to believe we're slaying a dragon. He's just a shit used car salesman, I always say. Have you noticed how the bad guys are always so underwhelming, aren't they? Like, he's just like a whack henchman in a movie who gets shot off an aeroplane or something. And you don't give a shit after that point in the movie, you know?
Yeah, it's nothing too grandiose. I even noticed that there are very specific strategies that I'll do in the game, like specific ways of proxying a certain wave or something. And I'll do that one day, and then the next day NEACE will be doing it. It's actually a funny thing is that if you Alt-Tab on Windows, it will show a picture of each screen that you have. And NEACE has been leaking his Discord.
And could they see your thing?
Over a year.
Oh, yeah. Right.
In his coaching group chat with all of his coaches, he posts my videos in there, and then just talks about them, but won't actually talk about it publicly. I think a problem with that is that.
By the way, shout out to this guy also for managing to be on the internet this long but have like boomer tendencies. Because that one, by the way, all I'll say without giving away the story is I have that happen all the time in business, Yasukeh, where I do these Zoom calls with like real world businessmen, and then they go, "Can you see my screen now?" And they do that screen because they have MacBooks, right? Where on a MacBook it does the same thing. It's a bit like Alt Tab. When you go to the screen with the documents, it shows all your documents you've had open. And bro, I'm not even joking. Like. I won't say if I do it or not because it might be illegal, but let's just say if I was to screenshot as they're doing that, like I can see all, like I can actually see, like, you know, the parody thing where you show someone's Gmail, like I can just see that for real. I can see all the emails they've gone. Sometimes I can see like other documents in business. And even though, yes, I understand because they're a boomer, it appears for 1 second. All the time I'm just thinking like, bro, like all I have to do is have screen recording running. I've got all this shit. Like that's so hilarious that he denies it, but then you can just see it on like the alt tab.
Yeah,
Why?
like he went as far as to leaking the private financial records of somebody else.
Fucking hell.
Like I don't want to get like more into specifics, but yeah, he leaked sensitive information of somebody else. And at that point I'm like, all right, I tried to back channel through somebody else who like we're both kind of mutuals with, and tried to get him to like, hey, here's how to stop it. And he's just not stopping it. So he's just constantly leaking DMs with other people. And yeah, no, at that point you have a responsibility to not leak other people's financial information.
By the way, the other thing as well is this. Oh, no, I mean, literally, it could be illegal depending on where you're from. The other thing as well is this, and I know this will seem, unfortunately, like a counterintuitive, or like maybe people will think like, isn't that just like tangential? How does that connect? But I'll just say it, like, one of the things in my line of work is you also try and pay attention to patterns of behavior, because essentially, like a classic example I'll give people now so they'll understand what I'm talking about is, if you have a friend who, you know, you've known them years and years, and, you know, they get excited about things and they talk about things and they have strong opinions and they have crazy ideas. But then every now and then they'll do that thing where when they're telling you something, they keep saying like, honest, like, look, I swear on my mum's life, this really happened. Eventually you start to think like, doesn't that infer that all the times he didn't say that, like, maybe you were just lying to me then, or like you didn't really mean that, or I even should actually always like shade in that you potentially lie? I mean, you obviously should do that anyway, but you get the premise. Like, what they do is actually a famous concept that, like, famously, that's what they say about liars, is where the liar gives himself away is the one time he knows he's telling the truth, he really can't handle the idea you might think he's lying, but in doing so, he gives away his whole game as to when he lies. So all I'll say is this: if NEACE had been not just multiple times NA Challenger, but multiple roles NA Challenger through different seasons, we're talking like season 7, season 9, now we're in season 13, guys. If he'd been all these things, then going to Korea and getting Masters once in this like small sample size way wouldn't actually be that big a thing to crow about. Look, you still might talk shit on people. Like, if people don't know, tying into what you said earlier, he tried to conflate that because he'd been stuck in Plat, then a bunch of people said, I bet he'll never even get past Diamond. And then he used that as like, this was what it was all about, guys. Look, I proved them all wrong. Yeah, he did do that. But even so, that part aside, you wouldn't be quite as sort of smug as he was when you got Masters, I feel, if you'd already done it a bunch of times. You know what I mean? Like, the way he even did that, it almost felt like, for real, the second he hit that and saw that badge, I bet it almost felt like he was like, whoa, hands off the keyboard, don't want to fuck this up at all, like, I'm here now, like, whoa, how much can I milk this? Like, fuck, I've got a whole week, I've got to get all these bits. Like, bro, if you just, like, the obvious joke would be, if you hit that rank, you'd go, right, next rank, now we're going for Challenger, wouldn't you? Like, that would be the next goal, because to me, it's all still going to come back to the same thing, which is, one, prove it over a long time, just an obvious thing to say, and then two, now when you go back to NA, it's not even that like you must now go get Challenger in NA. Like, surely that's not even, how can anyone not think that must be the conclusion at the end? Like, if he now goes to NA and does not ever get Challenger, I don't care if he goes, well, I didn't want to, I don't need to, you know, I'm sorry, he now has no excuse not to do it, as far as I can tell. Like, I actually think he's painted himself in a corner, even though I get that to his fans, he's actually won. He's beaten us all in their minds, you know.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.